There are a lot of unique weapons in Fallout 4, and it's very easy to miss most of them. So in this video, I will be showing you the locations of 66 unique weapons. These will come from the base game and all of the DLCs for Fallout 4. The first weapon on this list will come from Walden Pond, which will be right here on your map. When you get here, look for this drain pipe that you can enter, and on the other side you will find a group of raiders. Clear them out, then make your way to this workshop area, and here on the counter you will find the big gym. This is a pretty good early game legendary melee weapon, and the perk on it gives you a 20% chance to break your target's leg. Next up, we will go to Drumlin Diner, which will be nearby. When you get here, you will find two raiders yelling at a woman in the diner named Trudy. If you help Trudy deal with the raiders, she will become a vendor that will sell the General Chow's Revenge Sword. This weapon will come with a perk that will increase damage done to robots by 50%. After this, we can head over to the Covenant Settlement and talk to the vendor Penny, who will be in the building on the right, and she will be selling the Justice. This is a pretty strong shotgun that will come with a perk that will give this weapon a chance to stagger targets, making it harder for them to fight back. After that, we can go to Sagus Ironworks. When you get here, make your way to the Blast Furnace area, and here you will encounter the boss Slag. And if you defeat him, you will get the Shish Kebab weapon. Now this weapon won't come with a legendary perk, but you can modify it to make it an extremely strong weapon. Next up, we can go northeast to the Dunwich Borer area. When you get here, make your way to the underground tunnels and look for this hole in the ground. Then swim down, and here you will find the Krem's Tooth. This is a very strong melee weapon that has a good base damage, but it will also apply a bleed and poison effect to the target, which will allow you to keep constant pressure on your enemies. After that, we can head over to the Rook family house. When you get here, you will find a man shooting Mirelurks from a roof. Help him deal with those Mirelurks and he will let you into his house. From here you will have two choices. You can either do his follow-up side quest or you can just kill him. Either way you will get the Reba and the Reba 2 sniper rifles. The Reba 2 is a very good sniper rifle and comes with a perk that will give you a 50% damage increase towards Mirelurks and bugs. The next weapon on this list will come from the Vital Pump House. When you get here, you will need to solve a small puzzle to unlock a door. The solution for this puzzle is 10-4-5-1. And on the floor of the room past the door, you will find the Gainer. This revolver can do a lot of damage, and the perk on it sets targets on fire, dealing an additional 15 damage. For the next weapon, we will need to go to Libertalia. When you get here, make your way to the top of this building that is built on the back of a ship. At the top, you will find the captain's cabin, and in this room you will find the Lefusel Terrible's shotgun. This may be one of the best shotguns in the game, as it comes with a high base damage, and the perk on this weapon increases its damage by 25%. If we head back to Vault 111, we will get the next weapon on this list, which will be the Cryolator. To get this weapon, you will need to be at least level 18 and be able to lockpick master locks. And in the Overseer's office, you will find the Cryolator weapon in this display case. The Cryolator is a very good weapon that allows you to freeze enemies, making them easier to deal with. The 10th weapon on this list will come from the ArcJet Systems area. About halfway through this location, you will come across a control room, and on this table you will find the Junk Jet, which uses your scrap junk as ammo, and it can do some pretty good damage. If you are level 20 or above, you can head to the Oberlin station to get the next weapon. Once here, run to the east to find this crashed UFO and a trail of green blood leading to a cave. Inside that cave you will find an alien that you can kill to get the alien blaster. This is a very strong weapon that can be modified to be even better and use a more common ammo type. The next weapon will come from Bunker Hill. Here you can talk to the vendor Deb to purchase the Wastelander's Friend. This weapon will come with a perk that increases limb damage by 50%. After that, we will make our way to the USS Constitution. When you get here, a robot will approach you, telling you to talk to the captain of the ship above you. This will start the last voyage of the USS Constitution side quest, and at the end of it, you will be given the Broadsider weapon. The Broadsider is a unique weapon that can do a lot of damage, and it has its own very unique look to it. If you go south from the USS Constitution, you will find Pikmin's Gallery. When you get here, clear out all of the raiders in the building and protect Pikmin. Then Pikmin will give you a key to his safe, which you can use to get Pikmin's knife. This weapon is very good and comes with a perk on it that will apply a bleed effect to your target, and on top of this, Pikmin's blade also comes with a stealth blade, which increases damage done with this weapon while sneaking. The next two weapons will come from the Good Neighbor Settlement. First, you can go to the alleyway near the entrance to start the Big Dig side quest, and at the end of that you will get the Ashmaker, which is a legendary minigun that comes with a perk on it that will set targets on fire, dealing an additional 15 damage. If you go back to the Kill or Be Killed shop near the entrance of Good Neighbor, you can also grab the Party Starter. This weapon comes with a perk that makes the weapon do 50% more damage against humans. For the next weapon, we will need to go to Swan's Pond. When you get here, approach the water and shoot the mutant in the water to summon Swan. And if you defeat him, you will be able to loot the Furious Power Fist off of his body. This is a really good weapon for melee builds due to the perk on it that will increase the damage done by this weapon every time you hit the same target. To the west of Swan's Pond, you will find Hubris Comics, and here you can grab the next weapon, which will be Grognak's Axe. To get this weapon, you will need to lockpick the display case behind the counter, and inside you will find Grognak's Axe. Hitting enemies with this weapon will cause more stagger, and targets take bleed damage. The next weapon on this list will come from Arturo in Diamond City. This vendor will be selling the Big Boy, which is a modified version of the Fat Man. But this weapon comes with a perk that will make the weapon fire 2 mini nukes, and the second mini nuke is free and does not come from your reserve ammo, doubling your damage for free. Outside of Diamond City or Vault 81, you will have a chance to encounter a rare vendor named Cricket, who will be selling the 20th weapon on this list. That weapon will be the Spray and Pray. Now in my opinion, this is a must-have weapon due to its high damage and its accessibility. It also comes with a 100 round mag and a suppressor, and the perk on it makes bullets fired from this gun explode on contact, dealing 15 damage to everything around the explosion. Now, if you decided to wait for Cricket outside of Vault 81, you can also easily grab the next weapon on this list. To get it, just head into Vault 81 and talk to the vendor inside of the vault, and she will be selling the Overseer's Guardian. This is another must-have weapon due to its high base damage, and the perk on it makes this weapon fire an additional projectile every time you pull the trigger, doubling both your damage and your ammo count, as this additional projectile will be free. After this, we can head over to Big John's Salvage. When you get here, look for this blue train car, then follow the black wire to this switch to unlock the trapdoor in the blue car. And inside of this secret bunker you will find the railway rifle. Now this isn't a legendary weapon, but if you don't side with the railway during your playthrough, this weapon will be pretty difficult to find other than at this one location. And it is a pretty good weapon, so it's worth grabbing. The next weapon can be found nearby at the University Credit Union building. Use the back door of this building to get into the vault, then lockpick this safe to reveal a button. Hitting that button will open a secret door, and on this table you will find the prototype up laser weapon. This weapon will come with a perk that will make it so you will never need to reload this gun. The next weapon on this list will come from the Jamaica Plain area. When you get here, look for the City Hall building and head to the basement. And after some lockpicking and hacking, you will reach this office, and to the right you will find the 2076 World Series baseball bat. This is a decent melee weapon, and the perk on it gives you a small chance to send your target flying through the air. Weapon 25 will come from the Quincy Ruins area. When you get here, clear out all of the gunners and make your way to the overpass above you. And here you will find the boss Clint, who you can kill to get the Good Intentions laser rifle. The perk on this weapon makes your critical hits cause frenzy, which makes that target work for you and fight their friends. For the next weapon, you will need to go to Virgil's cave, which can be found at the bottom left corner of the map. When you get here, you will have two options. You can either pickpocket or kill Virgil. Doing this will allow you to get Virgil's rifle, which comes with a perk that makes the weapon do 50% more damage to mutants. If we go back to Diamond City, we can go to Nick Valentine's office and grab the Marty Bullfinch case file, which will start the Gilded Grasshopper side quest. And at the end of this quest, you will get the Shem Drowned Sword. This is a really good mid to early game melee weapon that does some good damage and applies radiation damage on each swing. After that, we will go over to the Pridwin ship and talk to the vendor on the ship, and he will be selling the Death from Above. This weapon can do a lot of damage, and the perk on it makes you move 75% faster while aiming. Weapon 29 will come from the weapon vendor at the Institute, and here you can purchase the Experiment 18A weapon. Now this is a really good weapon that can do a lot of damage, and the perk on it increases your rate of fire by 25% and increases reload speed by 15%. The next weapon can only be obtained after you complete the main campaign, and only if you decide to save Sean. After this, you can send him to one of your settlements, then talk to him to start a secret side quest. During this side quest, Sean will ask you for 3 random junk items. If you bring them to him, he will give you the Wazer rifle, and the perk on this weapon makes it so you will never need to reload. Now those are a majority of the secret weapons found in the base game of Fallout 4, but there are still so many more in the DLCs and in the latest next gen update. So let's start with the newest weapons from the next gen update. So the first weapon for the next gen update will be the Tesla Cannon. To get this weapon, you will need to start the Best of 3 quest. This will be a short and easy quest, and at the end of it, you will face off against a boss that will be using the Tesla Cannon. And if you defeat him, you can loot the Tesla Cannon off of him. Now this is a very powerful weapon that uses a common ammo type. There aren't any perks on this weapon, but you can modify it to make it even stronger. For the next weapon, you will need to start the Crucible side quest. And at the end of that quest, you will find an underground stash with flame resistance power armor legs. Put those onto your power armor, then you can jump into this cauldron to get the Ghoul Slayer's Heavy Incinerator. This is another powerful weapon that does 50% more damage to ghouls. For the rest of the weapons from the next gen update, you will need to do the When Pigs Fly side quest. At the start of this side quest, you will encounter a new vendor that will be selling the nail gun and the saw blade launcher. Even though these aren't legendary weapons, they are still pretty good, and they can be modified to be even better. Shortly after this, you will reach a gun store, and on the counter you will find the Rapid Pipe Grenade Launcher Rifle. This is a very good grenade launcher weapon that can do some impressive damage, and the perk on it makes this weapon fire 25% faster and reload 15% faster. From here we will need to go to the next step of the quest and fight the boss, who will be using the Piggy Bank Fat Man. Now this part can be tricky as the boss will be at close range, so if he sees you approach him, he will hit you with the Fat Man and it could kill you very quickly. So I suggest sneaking up on him and using Jet to defeat him before he even gets a chance to use his weapon. Then you can find the Piggy Bank Fat Man near his body. Now this will be a modified version of the original Fat Man, but this weapon will fire the explosive piggy banks, which do a lot of damage, and when they explode you can find a pile of caps near where the piggy bank landed. On your way back to the first vendor where the quest started, you will come across 2 bodyguards, and one of them will be holding the baseball launcher. This weapon doesn't do a lot of damage, but it will stun the things that you hit with it, making it a lot easier to deal with difficult enemies. And finally, when you finish the quest, you will be given the Chinese Grenade Launcher Rifle. This thing is very strong, and the perk on it makes this weapon ignore 30% of your target's damage and energy resistances. And those are the weapons from the next gen update. Now let's move on to the DLCs and start with Nuka-World. Let's start off with the first weapon that you will come across, which will be the Problem Solver. To get this weapon, you will need to defeat the Overboss and reach Nuka-World. One of the first main story quests that you will do here will introduce you to each of the raider factions. But when you meet with Mason, who is the leader of the pack, you will want to do a quick save. Then during your meeting with him, you will want to only pick aggressive dialogue options, which will be the options on the right. On top of this, you will also need to pass 2 speech checks, which will require you to have a higher charisma skill. So do whatever you can to boost your charisma as much as possible. But if you fail this at any time, you can load up your quick save to try again. But if everything goes well, Mason will give you the Problem Solver after you finish talking to him. The Problem Solver quickly became one of my most used weapons, as it does a decent amount of damage, and the perk on it increases the weapon's damage every time you land a hit on the same target. So you will be able to melt enemies very quickly with this weapon. After this, we can head over to the Nuka Arcade, and here we will find 4 unique weapons. The first room on your right will have the Thirst Zapper on the counter. And the room on the left at the bottom of the stairs will have the Commie Whacker. These 2 weapons really aren't that special, but they are fun additions to your collection. But while you're here, you can also play the arcade games to earn tickets to purchase the other 2 unique weapons, which will be the Paddle Ball and the Acid Soaker. Now it may seem a little grindy to get all of the tickets for these weapons, but you can easily get enough tickets for them by playing the shooting range game with the Thirst Zapper. This will be the quickest way to get tickets because with the Thirst Zapper, you can get close to the targets and shoot them, and it doesn't use any ammo and you will never have to reload, allowing you to hit every target and build up a big score, which will give you more tickets. Then take those tickets to the prize terminal at the bottom of the stairs and deposit them. Then you can use them to buy the Paddle Ball weapon, which is very useless, and the Acid Soaker. The Acid Soaker will come with a perk that will apply acid to enemies that will deal damage over time and reduce their damage resistances. Next, we will make our way over to the market. The first unique weapon that we can buy here will be the Throat Slicer, which will come from Caitlyn, who will be standing near a cow by one of the doors. This weapon can do a lot of damage very quickly, and the perk on it makes targets bleed for 25 points of additional damage. And the second weapon that we can buy from the market will be the Splatter Cannon, which will be sold by Aaron. This weapon will come with a suppressor and a scope, and the perk on it causes the damage of each round to increase with each hit on the same target, similarly to the Problem Solver, which means this is a great alternative for players who either missed the Problem Solver or didn't pass the speech checks. Now those were the easy weapons to get from this DLC, but the next 5 weapons will all come from side quests and they will be a little bit more difficult to get. If we go over to the Safari Adventure Park, we will meet Cedo, and if you accept his quest and work with him to clear out the Safari Adventure Park, you will be given the Cedo's Shiny Slugger baseball bat. This will require you to deal with some pretty difficult enemies, but you will need to do this anyways to secure the park, so it's worth doing. Cedo's Shiny Slugger will do a lot of damage, and the perk on it refills your action points on a critical hit, making it a good addition to your collection. Next, we will head over to the Kitty Kingdom Park. When you get here, you will need to progress through the area and the quest associated with this area like you normally would. And at the end of the quest, you will face off against Oswald. If you have a high charisma skill, you can talk him into leaving the park, and if he does this, he will give you the Sword of Wonders and his hat. The Sword of Wonders is decent, and the perk on it makes the weapon ignore 30% of the target's damage and energy resistance. After that, we can travel over to the Hubologist camp, and when you get here, talk to Dara and accept her quest. To complete this quest, you will need to go over to the Vault Tech Among the Stars ride and collect 5 spacesuits. These will be very easy to find in a single run through of the ride. Once you have all 5, bring them back to Dara and she will have a follow-up quest where you will need to help her secure a spaceship. And after you do this, you will be given Hube's Alien Blaster, which is a legendary version of the Alien Blaster, and the perk on it makes critical shots deal double damage, and the critical meter fills 15% faster. And while you're here, you can also do her second follow-up quest to earn ammo for this weapon. Next up, we will need to go back to Nuka Town, USA and find Sierra, who will be hard to miss as she will say something every time you walk past her, and she's wearing some noticeable glasses. She will have a quest for you that will require you to put on her glasses and find 10 cappies hidden around the park. This will be pretty easy to do, and you will even be given a holotape that will have hints for their locations. Once you have found all 10 of the cappies, you can return to Sierra, and this will unlock Brad Burton's office and lead to a decision where you will need to either side with Sierra or Brad Burton. Personally, I suggest siding with Sierra because this will allow you to earn 2 rewards. The first one will be a Nuka-World jumpsuit, and the second will be the Nuka Nuke launcher. But to make this work and get 2 rewards, you will need to side with Sierra first to get the jumpsuit, then quickly hit the switch on the wall to side with Brad Burton and get the Nuka Nuke launcher. This will be a much better version of the Fat Man and uses a modified ammo type to do a lot more damage. And finally, after you secure all 5 of the parks and finish the Nuka-World campaign, a bonus side quest will start. For this quest, you will need to defeat new challengers in the Cola Car Arena. Every time you return to Nuka-World USA, you will have a chance of hearing an alarm that will let you know a new challenger is in the arena. If you defeat 5 challengers, a legendary challenger will spawn named the Rogue Knight. And if you defeat him, you will get the Eternus Gatling laser. This is a really crazy weapon, because the perk on it makes it so you never have to reload the gun. but because this weapon uses fusion cores instead of ammo, the fusion core will just never run out, allowing you to never stop shooting. Sure, it will take a while to get all 6 of the challengers to spawn in, but it's definitely worth doing as the Eternus is not a weapon that you want to miss out on. And now let's move on to Far Harbor. Starting off with the first Far Harbor weapon, you will need to go to the Echo Lake Lumber area. When you get here, look for this ruined building, and on the top floor you will find this red chest with the harvester inside of it. This is a very powerful and fast melee weapon that will act like a chainsaw, and the perk on this weapon gives you a chance to stagger enemies hit with this weapon, and due to the harvester's very fast attack speed, you can basically stun lock enemies, making them easier to deal with, and they won't have a chance to fight back. From here we will head over to the Nucleus, and here we can find 3 more unique weapons. The first will come from the side quest called the Heretic, which is given to you by Grand Zealot Richter, and after you complete this side quest, you will be given the Adam's Judgment melee weapon. This could be one of the hardest hitting melee weapons in the game, and the perk on it makes this weapon deal an additional 100 radiation damage per swing. Next, we can go to the vendor named Brother Kane in the Nucleus, and here we can purchase the Kiloton Radium Rifle. This is a very strong weapon that uses a common ammo type, and the perk on this weapon makes bullets explode on impact, doing an additional 15 damage to everything near the explosion. On top of that, this is also a radium rifle, which means it will also do radiation damage. And underneath this vendor you will find Sister Mai, who will give you the Ablution side quest, which will send you over to the Vim Pop Factory to get a pump. This will be very easy to do, and after you do this, she will give you the Radical Conversion weapon. This is another very good weapon, and the perk on it makes this weapon ignore 30% of your target's damage and energy resistances. But while you're in the Vim Pop Factory, you can also grab the 5th secret unique weapon on this list. When you get here, make your way to the room with the 2 large vats that will be near the pump from the Ablution side quest, and in the back corner of the room you will find an elevator that will take you to this hidden lab. Now, if you have a high charisma skill, or if Nick Valentine is with you when you get here, you can talk to the intercom to be allowed into the lab, and here you will find the December's Child weapon. This is an amazing weapon that can do some really good damage, and it uses 5.56 ammo. And the perk on this weapon makes the weapon fire 25% faster, and reload 15% faster. Next, we will head over to Horizon Flight 1207 and talk to the mutant Erickson, and he will be selling the Butcher's Hook. This is a good melee weapon that can do some good damage, and the perk on it makes this weapon refill your action points on critical hits. From here we can travel over to Cliff's Edge Hotel and make your way to the vault hidden under the hotel. When you get here, a robot will approach you asking you to solve a mystery. Accept this side quest and then follow the robot to a body, and to the right near the couch you will find the Fence Buster. Now, this weapon isn't the best weapon in the game, but it can be pretty good, and it's a good addition to your collection. And the perk on this weapon makes the weapon ignore 30% of your target's damage and energy resistances. The next 3 weapons will come from Acadia. When you get here, make your way to the vendor Degen, and he will be selling the Old Reliable and the Sergeant Ash. The Old Reliable is a very good weapon, and I consider it to be a must-have weapon. This weapon can do a lot of damage, and it can be modified to be even better, but the perk on this weapon makes the weapon shoot an additional projectile, which will double its damage and double your ammo count, as the additional projectile does not come from your reserve ammo. The Sergeant Ash is also kind of a good weapon, and the perk on it gives you a 20% chance to cripple the target's leg. After this, we can look around Acadia for the NPC named Chase, who will give you the side quest called The Arrival. This is a very easy side quest, and it doesn't take too long to complete it, and at the end of it you will get the Hitman's Overcharged Institute Rifle. This is a pretty good laser weapon, and the perk on this weapon makes the weapon do 10% more damage while aiming. After that, we can go over to Beaver Creek Lanes, and when you get here you will need to clear out all of the ghouls, then make your way to the office on the top floor, and here you will find the Striker. Now this weapon can do a lot of damage if it's used properly, but it can be difficult to use. But the perk on the weapon gives you a 50% chance to cripple a target's leg. The last 5 weapons on this list will come from the town of Far Harbor. First up, when you get here, talk to Cassie and she will give you the side quest called Blood Tide. Now this quest isn't difficult, but it will take you a while as there are 3 parts to this quest. But at the end of it, she will give you the Blood Letter, which is a pretty decent melee weapon, and the perk on it applies 25 bleed damage to targets. After that, we can talk to the Mariner at the front gate to start the Hull Breach side quest. Again, there will be 3 parts to this side quest, and at the end of it, you will be given the Defender's Harpoon Gun. This weapon will do a lot of damage, and the perk on it makes this weapon ignore 30% of your target's damage and energy resistances. After that, we can talk to the vendor Alan Lee, and he will be selling 2 unique weapons, which will be the Admiral's Friend and the Fish Catcher. The Admiral's Friend is a harpoon weapon that can do an insane amount of damage due to its high base damage and the perk on it that will make this weapon do double damage if the target has full health. The Fish Catcher isn't nearly as good, but it can be a good addition to your collection, and the perk on this weapon reduces your action point cost by 40%. And finally, if you play through the storyline of Far Harbor and side with the town of Far Harbor at the end, you will be given the Lucky Eddie weapon. This is another lever action rifle that will give you +2 luck while you use it. And those are 66 unique weapons that you can easily get in Fallout 4, but I would love to know which of these are your favorites in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.